G'day, folks. I'm just giving a summary of the first class that we had in our Jewish Essentials course, which was the class on the synagogue. This is just a 5-minute summary. Hopefully it'll be 5 minutes. I'm doing a rookie error. I've got the lights behind me, not in front of me, but I wanted you to see the background of the shul while we discuss the shul. We'll do this fairly briefly because it's almost midnight. The discussion that we had about synagogues was one on the idea of Shekhinah and Mikdash. The key quote was from the book of Exodus, chapter 25, verse 8, where it said, Va'asuli Mikdash v'shachanti b'socha. Make for me a sanctuary, and I can dwell amongst you, amongst the people. This is the commandment to have a sanctuary for God. The key words there are shachanti, Shekhinah, God residing within our lives. Very important theme within Judaism, probably the fundamental theme. This idea of creating a garden for God, a place where He can be revealed, and then Mikdash, a sanctuary, a place where you are able to force away and avoid all the forces that are going to interfere with our connection to God. So through discipline, allowing God to have a sanctuary, a place where we can access Him and where God feels at home and natural and easily able to express Himself. So that's the theme of the synagogue in a nutshell. We ask questions on a synagogue. Surely God is everywhere, so how can He be confined to a place? But that idea and theme that God is indeed essentially everywhere, but He is revealed only in certain places, and those places are created by man's toil and man's effort. And this is the idea of Shekhinah. And I showed you the word Shekhinah, which is God's dwelling, God's expression, God's revelation in our lives, and Mikdash, Kodosh, holy, sanctified, an exclusive domain for God. Beyond the questions, we also looked at the value of a synagogue, a social place, a place that weds and combines both the social component of Judaism and the ritual or the spiritual connection to God element of Judaism. So a perfect synergy of the spiritual and the social. And we certainly also looked at the idea that we need to train ourselves to have places in our lives that are uniquely linked for certain activities. The gym, that's the way the human nature works and the habit works. So a synagogue is going to be created as a unique space for God to reside here, for His Shekhinah to be manifest and present. Therefore, there are going to be lots of rules in a synagogue. We don't use the synagogue as a shortcut. We don't eat and sleep in the synagogue. We have big signs. You can see, oh, there you go, the lights. You can see behind the lights, Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you are standing. A sense of awe and reverence when you come into the place. You cannot use the synagogue as a refuge from rain or sun. It's supposed to be a dedicated space for the soul to flourish and for that connection to God to occur. And therefore, it does have a lot of disciplines. No eating, no sleeping, as I said. No idle chatter, no gossip. No spitting on the Temple Mount anyways, no dust on your feet. And the way we dress is very important as well. Modest dressed and appropriate dress. Finally, what we are supposed to do, the positive what we're supposed to do in the synagogue is allow our minds to settle, cut out kind of all the discord and disruption in our life, fully cover, be dressed modestly, cover our heads for a male. For females also, they cover their heads, but for slightly different reason of modesty. We look at the words of the prayers when we read them. And then later in the class, we looked at the origins and the history. I didn't go into this in as much detail as I would have liked, but time was pressing and we weren't able to do it. But there is a history of synagogues, the first synagogues dating back to the Babylonian exile, some even earlier, but certainly the synagogues as we know them, the sanctuaries, was the first one, the traveling tabernacle. The second one were the two temples in Jerusalem. and then later the synagogues that flourished, the famous synagogues of the Basilica Synagogue in Alexandria, the Elephantine synagogues, and so on. Very famous synagogues all over the world. Of course, the oldest synagogues in Australia date back 200 years as well, or near enough to it. And all along, the synagogues are referred to as the prophet Ezekiel did, as a mikdash ma'at, a miniature sanctuary. We had the traveling tabernacle, we had the temple, and then we have a traveling sanctuary as well. The architecture is going to reflect that history. So all the architecture in a modern synagogue or in the more later synagogues reflect the architecture of the original temple, the original tabernacles. So that the ark that we have in the front of our synagogue, the epicenter of holiness, is linked to the Ark of the Covenant that was in the temple with the 10 Commandments in it, which is why we have 10 Commandments on the walls in most synagogues, to show that we are missing a key element. But we do have Torahs in our arks. The arks are behind a curtain, just like they were in the temple. There is a bima or a duchan, a place where the priest can bless the people in the synagogue, just like would occur in the temple and in the tabernacle. There is a bima, a central space, which corresponds to the mizbeach, because that's where the key offerings occur. There's a mechitza, which is exactly how it was in the temple. The men and the women were separated in the temple. So again, just trying to find that delicate balance between a focus on social, but also a focus on concentration in prayer. So it was deemed that the cutoff was intergender communication, which sometimes can be a little bit more distracting. And we looked at a couple of other themes that occur in a synagogue, like only praying when there's a quorum of 10 men, the idea of taking a siddur to pray and finding the service and learning the tunes, so that after a period of time coming to the synagogue, you pick up the tunes. Praying accoutrements we looked at, so the talit, which you wrap yourself in entirely to pray if you're a male, and the tefillin, again, only for males, to put on your arm and on your head and next to your heart, the mind, emotions and actions being dedicated to God at this time of kind of intense connection to God and Shekhinah and Kedusha, as we mentioned at the beginning. And also when the Torah gets taken out, as it does on Mondays, Thursdays, and on Shabbos, and on festivals, to take the Torah out, we get called to the Torah. 7 people get called to the Torah on Shabbat, 5 on the festivals, 3 on the weekdays, and we can follow the Torah reading by taking a chumash, and we looked at where those are stored in the synagogue as well. And in conclusion, I urged everyone to think Shekhinah, to think Kedusha when they come into a synagogue. This is a place where, through the disciplines and through the way we treat the synagogue, we allow God to be more manifest, to be more revealed, and allows our soul to somehow shine a little bit more and connect to God in a real and meaningful way, because of the disciplines and the way we treat the synagogue, and because of what the synagogue means in our lives. Yes, God is everywhere, but Shekhinah, manifest God, is where we create it and where we make it. Thank you very much. The next class on Wednesday night is going to be about creating Shekhinah and Mikdash, sanctuaries in time, and creating these kind of unique, wonderful rhythms and pockets in our time where we are allowing our soul to flourish based on the rhythms and the movements of times and the celestial beings and the astronomy. We'll learn all about that on Wednesday's class, God willing. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good night.